When James Foster first walked into Millbrook High School's classroom, the weather was unusually hot for that area. His only tool was a simple white chalk. The school didn't have anything else. The school was located in a poor neighborhood, mostly home to African-American families. "My name is Mr. Foster," he announced, looking around the room. 30 pairs of eyes looked at him with mistrust. For many, he was the first black math teacher they had ever had. In the corner sat Billy Johnson, a local celebrity, though not in the good sense. Everyone knew him as a troubled kid from a disadvantaged family. White teachers had long given up on him, labeling him a hopeless case. "Today we'll start with a simple question." James picked up the chalk. "What do math and justice have in common?" The class was silent. Billy pointedly turned towards the window. "They both require proof," Foster continued. "And you know what? In math, just like in life, there's no black and white. There's only right and wrong, and it doesn't depend on the color of the person solving the problem." With these words, he even caught Billy's attention. For the first time, someone was talking to them not about racial differences, but about equal opportunities. That day, James noticed that Billy, despite his show of disinterest, solved the first problem faster than anyone else. The boy tried to hide it, but the formulas scribbled across his notebook pages gave him away. After class, Foster asked Billy to stay behind. "You know," he said, sitting on the edge of a desk, "my mother also cleaned houses so I could study, and every time I solved a tough problem, it was my little victory over the system." For the first time, Billy looked up. In his eyes there was surprise. He was used to teachers only talking to him about discipline issues. "You have a mind for math," James continued, "but you're hiding it, just like I used to hide my textbooks, afraid that people in my neighborhood would laugh at me." The next day, Billy was the first to arrive in class, and by the end of the week he was helping other students solve problems. His status in the class started to change. Being smart was now cool. Not everyone shared Foster's enthusiasm, though. At one meeting, the principal, an older white man, took him aside. "Listen, Mr. Foster, maybe you should lower your standards. These kids, they're just not ready for complex math." "These kids?" James repeated, feeling anger rise inside him. "You mean black kids?" The principal tried to defend his statement with statistics and social conditions, but Foster cut him off. "You know what I see in my classroom every day? I see future engineers, scientists, architects. They've just never heard that they could become one." That evening, on his way home, James noticed Billy on the basketball court. The boy wasn't playing. He was drawing something with chalk on the asphalt. As James got closer, he saw geometric shapes and formulas. "I was thinking," Billy said without looking up, "if a ball's trajectory is a parabola, then you can calculate the ideal angle for a shot." James crouched down beside him. On that dirty asphalt, a real mathematical exploration was taking place. "Did you know," he smiled, "that the first black PhD in mathematics started with similar calculations?" News about Foster's unusual lessons spread around the neighborhood. Parents began coming to classes, first out of curiosity, then to learn alongside their kids. The classroom became a place where not only formulas on the board, but also prejudices were erased. One day, Billy's mother came to the class, a tired woman with rough, work-worn hands. "My son says he wants to go to college," she said quietly. "But we can't afford it." James looked at her and saw his own mother, just as tired, but never giving up. "Mrs. Johnson, your son is a math genius, and I'll do everything I can to make sure the right people hear about it." He started preparing Billy for the math Olympiad. They studied after school, on weekends, even in the school cafeteria during lunch. Other students, seeing their dedication, began staying after school too. When Billy walked into the auditorium of a prestigious private school where the Olympiad was held, people looked at him with barely concealed disdain. His worn jeans and old T-shirt sharply contrasted with the expensive clothes of the other participants. Remember, James said before the start, numbers have no color. Show them that. Billy did just that. He took first place, solving a problem that no one else could. And a month later, a letter came from MIT, a full scholarship. This victory changed not only Billy's life, but also all of Millbrook High. His story became a symbol of what's possible when someone believes in you. Students from other schools started coming to Foster's classroom. Among them was the daughter of the same principal who had advised him to lower his standards. James welcomed her just like he did everyone else. One day during a lesson, a tall, gray-haired man in an expensive suit entered the classroom without knocking. He was a member of the city's education council. He silently sat in the back row, watching. Foster was explaining a theorem, using basketball terms and examples from hip-hop. The class was fully engrossed, even those who used to think of math as a boring subject for rich white kids. After the lesson, the official approached James. "You know, Mr. Foster, I taught math for 30 years, and today I realize that all those years I was doing it wrong. We're not just solving problems, we're changing lives." A week later, the Education Council unanimously voted to expand Foster's program to other schools in the district. At the end of the school year, James organized an unusual parent-teacher meeting. Instead of the usual complaints about behavior, he presented a slideshow with each student's achievements. Graphs of progress were rising, just like the parabolas they had studied. "My son used to be embarrassed by his A's," one mother said with tears in her eyes. "Now he's proud of them." After the meeting, a father of one of the students, who owned a local auto shop, approached Foster. "Mr. Foster, I always thought my daughter would follow in my footsteps, but yesterday she told me she wants to be an engineer, and you know what? I'm proud of that." News of Foster's class achievements reached the local media. Reporters wanted to feature the miracle teacher, but James declined. "It's not about me," he said. "It's about the kids who just needed a chance." On the last day of the school year, Billy brought a small box to the classroom. Inside was a new black chalk. "It is so you don't forget," he said, "that sometimes the most important lessons are written in black chalk." 5 years later, James Foster sat in the MIT auditorium at the graduation ceremony. Billy, now William Johnson, was one of the top graduates. "Once," Billy began his speech, "a teacher told me that math is the language of the universe. But he taught me more. He showed me that this language is available to everyone, regardless of skin color or bank account size." In the audience sat other students of Foster's, now students at various universities. That girl from the auto shop was studying engineering at MIT, and the son of a cleaner was attending Stanford. After the ceremony, an elderly woman approached James. It was his mother. "You know," she said, "when you decided to become a teacher, I was afraid you were wasting your talent. Now I see I was wrong." That evening, James received a letter. The city's education council offered him to lead a new teacher training program. "We need people who see potential where others see only problems," the letter said. Foster smiled, recalling his first math teacher's words. "Sometimes the most important equation is the one where potential equals reality."